Good morning YouTube, welcome back to another video. I'm PTT and today we're going to take a look at the in-depth progression system that will be found inside of Anthem. Now before we get started, let me point out that there is an entire dev team stream devoted to loot, progression and more on the official Anthem YouTube channel, and a link can be found in the video description if you want to check it out. I highly recommend you do because I won't be covering everything they spoke about in this video. With all of that aside though, let's just jump straight into it. So let's start off with the basics. As with any game, Anthem will start with an initial story campaign, and this will come with your standard level increase for your pilot. You will start at level 1 and you will work your way up to whatever the level cap will be as you play through the story. During this time you will also unlock the other 3 javelins and work towards upgrading them and obtaining all their unique abilities. Now with some games when you hit level cap, that kind of ends the progression system. You end up playing the game for fun and chasing after certain loot, but that's about as far as it goes. In other games such as The Division, when you hit level cap, that's when the serious fun can actually begin and you open up a whole host of new character progression in the form of player builds and sets. Now I am very pleased to see and excited to say that Anthem will have something very similar in its game, and when you hit level cap, your journey to max out your pilot and javelin can truly begin. From everything we have seen and heard from the dev team, Anthem appears to have taken all of the good bits from multiple different titles and woven it into their own unique version of a progression system, and I have to say personally I am very pleased with the look of it. So let's actually go into some of the details then. As I said, Anthem's progression system starts with the basic level grind, as I previously mentioned, from 1 to level cap. Then it introduces 6 different difficulty tiers at launch. We will have in order Lancer, Freelancer and Master. Then following on from that we will have Grandmasters level 1, 2 and 3. Now these are not simply just harder difficulty settings that affect AI health, but directly influence your game world, loot drops and a lot of other things too. Think of this, if you've played The Division, as Anthem's version of world tiers. Now depending on what setting you have active, you will experience an entirely different experience in game versus someone who has a different setting active. Now it is worth noting here that the devs actually went on to explain how a level 1 player will still be able to play with their high leveled friends because everything in game will scale individually to each player. So you will all receive a relevant amount of damage from in-game AI depending on your pilot level, and you will also dish out a relevant amount of damage depending on your personal level. This is really nice to hear because it means you can play with your friends even if they're not at the same level as you, and it shouldn't be too difficult for them. Now then, level cap and 6 difficulty tiers is not just the only way to progress through Anthem. In fact, these few things are actually very minor in the grand scheme of it. See, on top of said difficulty tiers and pilot leveling, the game also introduces a similar system to The Division with its implementation of gear score. Now, if you know how gear score works in games, that's brilliant. If you don't, let me take a minute to quickly explain it. Every piece of gear you get in game, be that a weapon, a piece of armour or even a component, will have a level on it. When you add all of these numbers up, you will get a gear score. So as a simple example, let's say you have 4 bits of gear, all at level 30, your gear score would be level 30. If you have 2 bits of gear at level 30 and 2 at 25, then your gear score would be somewhere in between, as your gear score number is the average number of all of your combined gear put together. Now this may sound a little complicated, but trust me guys, it's not at all, but it does make for a very interesting game mechanic in combination with the in-game difficulty settings. Moving on then, because we're still not finished, Anthem will also have a system with its loot that will directly tie into your character progression, and while I plan on doing a separate video breaking down how the loot will work, I do want to give you a quick explanation of it now because it actually ties directly into the video topic. So loot in Anthem will come in 6 different forms, and the loot you will receive in game will be tied to a multitude of things. Firstly, your pilot level, secondly the game difficulty setting, and thirdly the activity you are completing. Now the loot isn't just loot, it also ties into the way you progress your javelin and create your own bespoke build tailored to your personal playstyle and suit selection. Yes, that's right guys, javelin builds are in game, and if you're a division player like myself, I bet your ears just procked up and you got a tad excited, because from everything we have seen so far, the build system in Anthem does look to be very in-depth system that can potentially affect every aspect of your javelin, from damage output to in-air hover time, explosion damage and radius, ammo capacity, and pretty much everything in between. So yeah, personally I'm really excited to get into the game and start making some of those powerful builds for masterwork gear and spend many hours grinding for that extra 1% damage radius as an example. Now don't worry guys, if the whole idea of a very in-detailed build turns you off, then you don't actually have to worry about it too much, because up to a certain point in game you can still complete all activities and have fun doing it without delving into the realms of putting together a mid-max build. But be warned, some very high level endgame activities will be extremely difficult, if not near impossible to complete, if you don't at least to a small degree delve into the build system. Now to start wrapping up guys, let's talk about a few points. There was a lot of information in this video and from the dev stream, and you may think that a progression system with so much volume to it will be extremely soul crushing and steep. But in my opinion, having played games with similar systems, I believe that it will provide us with a very steady curve in terms of having a challenge thrown at us and a steady increase to our power and abilities to complete activities. I don't think it will be too hard, but I am expecting big jumps when you enter the final Grandmaster levels, but to be 100% honest, I think these tiers have been created for the minority of the game's player base and not for the average chill gamer that plays a few hours a week. No, these high tier modes are for the people that play pretty much all day every day and want something to grind for and be rewarded for doing so. And that guys, I think will wrap up the video. Hopefully you found this information helpful. If you did, a thumbs up would be appreciated. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about everything I've said. I know some people may not like the route that they've gone down, but I personally from experience think it will be a very rewarding and challenging system, and it's one I personally look forward to partaking in. As always, let me thank you for watching. Have a nice day guys, and until the next one, I'll catch you all soon.